Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's the statistician to the stars. His name is Padawan J.
Fun factoid, for those of you listening at home and us here in the studio, give yourself a little pat on the back, a little round of applause for yourself.
Okay.
You have as many wins at Dallas Cowboys Stadium this year as the Dallas Cowboys do themselves.
Oh, all right.
Hey, go us.
Yes, go us, indeed. And we want to keep that conversation going because this is a sports edition of the ODPH. So, Pad, where does everybody go after the show?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Social media links are right there. Everything's updated. You're ready to rock and roll, especially now that we are fully established on Blue Sky. Shout out to everybody listening to us there. Also, T-Public Store. A lot of stuff happening there with holiday season in full swing, so you definitely want to swing by there and go get yourself some ODPH swag. It always helps the brand and always is something cool to see out at con season and such for 2024 and beyond. So definitely go check that out. Also, we have the blog section of the show where reviews are dropping left and right. The Classifieds, which has friends of the show such as 3FM Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative. A lot of things happening over there. Can't talk about them just yet, so you definitely want to make sure you click on the links and go follow what's happening at the home of pop culture positivity. Also, we have a directory. Pat, how many providers are we on?
We are on 275,755.
I don't question it, folks. He is the statistician to the stars for a reason. And who is his source?
Trust me, bro.
Exactly. So wherever you listen to the ODPH from, make sure to leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher or player. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show, so we definitely appreciate hearing everybody's feedback about that. Last but certainly not least, we have a fantastic music section of such great musicians as Brian Wolf and the Howlas, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Shot of the Robots, Floodlands, all great musicians that let us use their music royalty-free here on the show. So definitely go support them, especially in this upcoming holiday season. Go get some of their music. It's definitely worth the while. So go pay a small fee, and you get that entertainment year-round. How can you beat it, Pat?
You can't.
You can't. And for anything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com and on social media. Hey, remember to use the hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off the sports edition of the show, we have to recap the week that was a wild one in Week 11 of the NFL. So, Pat, let's do this.
Yeah, so we're going to start with my lock, and it's going to make at least one person happy. And that was because I chose the Green Bay Packers to beat the Chicago Bears, which they did narrowly by the final score of 20-19. Jordan Love, 13-17, 261 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Caleb Williams went 23-31, 231 yards passing, no touchdowns or interceptions. DeAndre Swift led the way in rushing, 14 carries, 71 yards, and 1 touchdown. Josh Jacobs led the way for Green Bay, 18 carries, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. And for Green Bay in receiving, it was Christian Watson, 4 catches, 150 yards, no touchdowns though. For Chicago, it was Rome Odunze. 6 catches, 65 yards, and no touchdowns.
Well, a few things here.
Chicago Bears offensive line sucks.
Yeah.
Especially on field goals.
Oh, yeah, their special teams unit for field goals.
Oh.
Atrocious.
Of course, you can say that about a lot of teams in the NFL these days.
Oh, we definitely can. There's no question about that. But I think for the Bears, where we were supposed to see some signs of turning things around.
Well, and you would think, especially after they fired their offensive coordinator last week.
Well, exactly.
I'm not expecting like a night and day. Holy shit, they just put up, half 100 points.
Well,
but
that's the whole thing. They should be doing something, and they're not.
Yeah.
And whether it's Caleb Williams, who we all were very skeptical of coming in at number 1 in the draft.
Yep.
He hasn't developed. Now, granted, he's had some issues with the personnel, like the coaching personnel in Chicago. Like you alluded to, they just changed offensive coordinators.
Yep.
That's never going to help a rookie quarterback.
God, no. Just ask Alex Smith.
Yeah. So he's going to be struggling, but that team is just not producing the way it should. Even
No.
even on the defensive side of the ball, where they did spend some money this offseason.
Yeah, they did.
So
I mean, 1 sack on Jordan Love, and they had 2 quarterback hits.
Mhm.
That's not ideal.
no, it's not ideal, and it's nothing against the Packers,
Right.
who would be the talk of the NFC had it not be for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
But they're quietly putting together a great season, 7-3.
Oh yeah, they're flying under the radar.
Very under the radar. When they get in the playoffs, which they'll get the wild card, they're not going to take the Lions for the division.
God, no.
I just don't see that happening.
Unless there's a catastrophic collapse.
Yeah, you would need an injury of epic proportion, and I'm not even going to put that karma out there. So we're not going there. But for Jordan Love and what he's been able to do here, and even when he went down for a couple games, they've maintained the ship.
Yeah.
And they have definitely been playing solid football. It hasn't been lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they made key stops when they needed to, like that late field goal that you alluded to.
Yeah.
So when teams are doing that, they're definitely getting better by week and developing more confidence. And I think for Jordan Love, that's something he needs.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the results of that confidence. And the Packers are going to be somebody that I don't think anybody really wants to face in the NFC playoffs.
No,
I think
they're going to be scrappy, that's for sure.
they're going to be in every game. There's no question. They're not going to put up great stats.
No.
But they'll go out there and they are going to win some games that they probably shouldn't. And in the playoffs, I wouldn't doubt them sneaking in possibly to an NFC championship.
Could be.
That's just how good they've been playing. But
Could be.
I think just looking at how this NFC North is shaping up, I mean, the Bears just have not been anything to write home about.
No.
The Vikings we'll get into in a little bit. But Green Bay and Detroit have been elite teams, and we'll have to see how everything pans out from here.
Well, for the next couple of weeks, Green Bay will be certainly battle-tested, and that is because this upcoming Sunday, they are at home against the San Francisco 49ers. Week 13, they're one of the Thanksgiving Day games. They are at home against the Miami Dolphins. Then on Week 14, that is another Thursday night game. They will be on the road playing the Detroit Lions. And then Week 15, Sunday Night Football, on the road playing the Seattle Seahawks.
I'll say this: if they go 2-2 in this, I think that's a very good place for them to be at. I mean, they have a great chance to go 3-1, but I think depending on how Detroit shows up, and then you never know with Seattle.
This is true.
I would say the 49ers, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. For the Chicago Bears, well, it ain't going to get any easier because the next couple of weeks they are at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Week 13, they are one of the other Thanksgiving Day games. They are on the road playing the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, that'll be a brutal game for them.
That's the first one too. That's at 12:30.
Yeah,
so that's going to ruin a lot of fans' days.
Yeah,
including Seth Rollins. Week 14 again doesn't get any easier. They're on the road playing the San Francisco 49ers. And then Week 15 on the road playing the Minnesota Vikings. That one is a Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, I mean, they are not going to have any easier. I mean, there's nothing
really
really
to test their moxie, that's for sure.
Well, I think for Caleb Williams, the best you can do at this stage is have a 500 season. Because if you can do that, at least you can build off that for next season.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is a wash.
Then we got to talk my leap because, I figured, you know what? Denver hadn't been playing so hot the last couple of weeks or lately. Got Atlanta's playing. Not bad. I figured they'd be able to pull it out. Boy, was I wrong on this one by historic proportions. Denver Broncos opened up a stone-cold can of whoop-ass on the Atlanta Falcons to the tune of 38-6. Bo Nix, 28 of 33, 307 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kirk Cousins went 18 of 27 for 173 yards passing, no touchdown, just 1 interception. Bijan Robinson led the way for Atlanta in rushing, 12 carries, 35 yards, no touchdowns. Javonte Williams led the way for Denver in rushing, 9 carries, 59 yards, 1 touchdown. Cortland Sutton led the way for Denver in receiving with 7 catches, 78 yards and no touchdowns. And for Atlanta, it was Drake London with 3 catches, 61 yards and no touchdowns.
Well, the takeaway here is Atlanta. Who is Atlanta?
What is it? What is Atlanta?
Atlanta is a big question mark.
Yeah, they are.
Because they should be playing at a higher level, and they're not.
It wouldn't have surprised me if Atlanta lost this game, which I get ultimately did. But hear me out when I say I wouldn't have been surprised if they lost this game a little closer.
Oh, agreed.
Like if
Fully
it
agree.
would have been like 21-17, or even 24-21, I'd be like, okay, like to be expected, is what it is. Neither team is all that sexy right now. That would have been, but fucking 38-6.
I understand traveling to Denver is tough because of the air quality,
Yeah,
issues.
the altitude.
Yeah, the altitude there. So that's not an excuse, though, for this kind of game.
Right.
And I think for Atlanta, this is a serious letdown.
Yeah.
For Denver, who has been playing very well as of late, the wins and losses might not reflect that, but they've been playing very, very well.
Yeah, they've beaten Tampa Bay, the Jets, the Raiders, the Saints, the Panthers, which who hasn't these days, and now the Falcons.
Yeah, so they've been putting together some nice wins.
Mm-hmm. And the losses are against teams you would expect: Kansas City, Baltimore, Chargers, which coin toss, Pittsburgh, Seattle. Those are all teams like, okay, yes, that makes sense that you lost that.
But out of those losses, how many were close?
Let's see. Seattle was a 6-point loss. Pittsburgh was a 7-point loss. The Los Angeles Chargers game was a 7-point loss. Baltimore was a 31-point loss.
Right.
And then the Kansas City game was, of course, the missed field goal, so that was a 2-point loss.
So in theory, they should have 4 more wins if something went right in one of the plays.
No, they should be at least 7-4.
Oh yeah,
if their left side of the offensive line on field goal unit doesn't suck.
Oh, agreed completely. So the fact, I don't know how they're doing this because I thought Denver was a lot worse than they are playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to still stay to my statement. I thought they have not been a great football team this season. However, we are starting to see something out of Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Which, if he's playing at a passable level,
which he's approaching, I would say.
He's approaching it. I think that there might be something to build off of for next season for Denver.
Because you look at it, he put up 307 and 4 touchdowns. Let me read off some of these names and see if they strike fear into you. Like, oh, shit, I'm going up against this guy in fantasy, or, oh, shit, I got to play him in Madden franchise mode next week. Now, these are the running backs. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estem, Bo Nix himself, Marvin Mims Jr., Michael Burton. And then you got receiving Cortland Sutton, Devon Villay, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Marvin Mims Jr., Javonte Williams, Troy Franklin, Nate Atkins, Audric Estem, Adam Troutman, and Michael Burton.
Yeah.
Sutton, okay, that might give you a little few fits, but not exactly like, shit, like we're going to get torched by this guy on Sunday. Marvin Mims Jr., I know the name, but does he scare me? Not really. The majority of that team is like, okay, they're not bad, but like they're not exactly scaring defensive coordinators.
Oh, completely. And I think that's something that Denver is a few players away from really being seriously a contender.
Could be.
But
especially on defense. Yeah,
for right now, though, I think they're lucky to get by, but they're building off of whatever Bo Nix is giving them.
Yeah.
This season, I don't think, they would need a hell of a run this late in the season to get to the playoffs.
Let's see.
I just don't see that's going to happen.
Currently in the AFC West, they are in third place, 6-5. They're behind the Chargers, who are 7-3, and the Chiefs, who are 9-1. I know you love hearing that.
Oh, yes, I do.
And then for the playoff seedings, they are currently, where the heck are they? They're actually in the 7th seed right now.
But maintaining that, though, I just don't know if they're going to do it.
They'll be around. They'll float. They'll come down to like week 18 or week 17, whatever the hell we're up to these days, where you watch Sports Center or you watch NFL Network or Fox or whatever morning pregame you prefer to watch. And you know how like you get to the end of the year and there's like, all right, this team can get in with X, Y, Z, 1, 2, or 3. And all those scenarios. They'll be at that point, but whether it'll be them or not, might not come down to them.
Yeah, but we'll have to see if they can maintain. I'm actually surprised they're at 7. I thought they'd be lower.
Yeah.
But, hey, they want to prove me wrong, go right ahead. So, Denver fans, you got to be something to be excited about.
Oh, for the next couple of weeks for those Denver Broncos, it's going to be real interesting. I'll say that. This upcoming Sunday, they are on the road playing the Las Vegas Raiders. I got to say something about the Raiders, too. Remind me when we get to them later.
Okay.
Then you got week 13. They are at home on Monday Night Football against the Cleveland Browns. Bye in week 14. Come back week 15 at home against the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, some winnable games there, but they're going to need. Vegas is going to give them problems.
Yes, they are.
Always division game.
Yes, they are.
So that's something that's going to be heated. Cleveland, you never know. So we'll have to wait to see how that plays out. So
Yep.
they're going to need some luck to keep moving things forward.
And for the Atlanta Falcons, they're actually off this upcoming Sunday. They come back week 13 at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Week 14, they're on the road playing the Minnesota Vikings. And then week 15, Monday Night Football, at least for now, on the road playing the Las Vegas Raiders.
If I'm not mistaken, Kirk Cousins is going to be on Sunday Night Football this week too.
Ooh.
For the bye week. So wondering what he's going to have to say about their future plans here. But nevertheless, this is Denver's day to celebrate. So congratulations, Broncos. Yeah. Let's see if you can keep it up.
Yeah.
Now, switching over to my locks and leaps, I took a lock, and honestly, I think this was probably the safest pick I could make.
Could be.
And no offense to Dre Driven or the rest of our Dallas Cowboy contingent that listens to the ODPH, but your season is done once Dak went down.
Your stadium hates you.
There's a lot of problems going on in Dallas.
How the hell you open your stadium roof for the first time in 2 years and it fucking falls apart?
Well, I think
what the shit?
It's not open. You haven't tested it out, whatever the case is. Yeah. But without a stable quarterback, you need to do something, and quite frankly, they look lost.
Yes, they do.
As the score dictates?
Yes, the Houston Texans beat the Dallas Cowboys 34-10. C.J. Stroud, 23 of 34, 257 yards passing. No touchdowns, though. One interception. Cooper Rush went 32 of 55. Good Lord. 354 yards passing, one touchdown, just one interceptions. Rico Dowdle led the way for Dallas in rushing with 10 carries, 28 yards, no touchdowns. Joe Mixon led the way for Houston, 20 carries, 109 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Nico Collins led the way for Houston in receiving with 4 catches, 54 yards, no touchdowns, and shocking to absolutely no one, C.D. Lamb led the way for Dallas in receiving with 8 catches, 93 yards, and no touchdowns.
Well, I can easily sum this up.
Okay.
Dallas needs to start Trey Lance.
Yeah.
At this stage,
that or sign Ryan Tannehill.
I'm sorry. At this stage, Cooper Rush is not getting the job done. There is no spark in that offense. There's no real signs of life. They're literally going through the motions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They had nothing for Houston. Houston jumped out early on them.
Yeah.
They came to play.
14-0 by the end of the first. Now, granted, it was 17-10 by the end of the first half.
Sure.
But still.
But that second half, Dallas just had nothing.
Goose egg.
They had nothing.
Compared to Houston's 17.
Well, Houston's defense was swarming, and they had no answer.
5 sacks on Cooper Rush. And for quarterback hits, it was
6.
6.
Yeah, Dallas had no answer. And I'm sorry if you're hoping the CeeDee Lamb can bail you out of most games. He's a great wide receiver.
Right.
But he can only do so much if he can't get the ball. Now, granted, Cooper Rush was throwing for 354 yards.
Yeah.
But if you're throwing that much and you only get 10 points,
right?
What does that tell you? You're not being efficient at the job. You can throw you can throw all you want, but unless you're putting up points, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Sorry, this is what the real deal is, and I don't know how you fix it other than at this point you're 3-7.
Yep.
You're 0-5 this season at home. I hate saying it, but the season is lost.
Yep. Season's over and done with, and you don't even. You got a decent draft pick right now. Right now, they have the number 9 overall pick.
Yeah, and I think they'll go get the running back from Boise State.
Probably.
I apologize. I can't think of his name now. I'm not looking it up. But I think they'll get the best running back they can in the draft.
Yeah.
But is it going to be enough to turn everything around? Dallas doesn't have that great offensive line they used to, in my opinion.
Sure.
And you can definitely tell that whoever's at quarterback is feeling the pressure.
Sure.
And with Cooper Rush, he's not the answer you need.
God, no.
I mean, there's no polite way to put it, but you have to give Trey Lance a start to see what you got there.
You got to give Trey Lance a start, or hell, Tannehill is still a free agent.
Well, somebody. That's the point.
I figured once Dak went down, that Tannehill would be in there. That, like, okay, they might give Trey Lance a shot for a week, but, like, I figured Tannehill would be on the speed dial.
Well, the thing is, you have Trey Lance sitting there. What are you doing with him?
Right.
I mean, former fourth overall pick, and you're having him just hold the clipboard.
Yep.
At this stage, what's it going to hurt to put him in and see what he's got?
Yep.
At worst, he can't play, and then you sit him down, and then you're back to square one. If he pulls off a miracle and fires up that offense, who knows? But at this situation, yeah, you're in that panic mode. You have to be. Because, quite frankly, I don't see you beating a Green Bay if you have to face them first round.
No, thank God, no.
I don't see you beating any of the division leaders if you have to face them in the first round.
Right.
So you got
if by some miracle they get there, because right now they're the number 15 overall seed in the NFC.
Oh yeah, no, they're not getting there unless they had the biggest pot of luck that you could ever find. But that would have to be the size of the ocean.
Maybe
for
it's
that.
in the same closet Jerry has his curtains in for that stadium.
You have to think so. Like, it has to be a massive pot of luck or a pot of gold at the end of this journey.
You
because
need both.
Yeah, because honestly, you have nothing.
No, you don't. I mean, the running game isn't great. Dowdle was your leading rusher, 28. CeeDee Lamb had 13 yards. Deuce Vaughn had 13 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, who was supposed to be, I don't want to say your answer, but he was your last resort when you lost out on Derrick Henry, which, boy, how dumb are they looking right now for not getting Derrick Henry. Shit, you might not be in it, but you'd at least be contending these days. And Cooper Rush was your other carrier. He had 2 carries, 2 yards. Your receiving core isn't bad, but Christ almighty, it's a who's who. CeeDee Lamb, Cavante Turpin, Luke Shoemaker, Brevin Spanford, Jalen Tolbert, Ryan Flournoy, Ezekiel Elliott, Jake Ferguson, Rico Dowdle, Janaea Thomas, Deuce Vaughn, all had catches. And then you had Jonathan Mingo, who got 4 targets but didn't catch a goddamn thing.
Mm-hmm. And they just got him from, Carolina?
Something, yeah. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 dudes all on the score sheet for targets.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-boggling about what they're doing down there.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry, at the end of the season, I think McCarthy's good as gone.
I'm telling you this right now. It's a lock. Mike McCarthy's gone by the end of the year. I'll say this. He might not make it through Thanksgiving.
No, I don't think he is. I mean, I think Thanksgiving is going to be the weirdest game in recent memory.
Just as everybody drew it up.
With Cooper Rush being the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys facing who, Pat?
Oh, I got to look up who because it was Danny Dimes.
I still think it's Danny Dimes. I don't think
not.
It's really,
no. Daniel Jones got
demoted. He got benched, but
he got benched the third. It's Tommy DeVito. It's Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say because I know they were talking about Drew Lock.
No,
but they're not playing Drew Lock. They're gonna put in Tommy Cutlets.
They're putting it. We'll get to that whole thing in a minute. But yeah, no. So as everybody drew it up, an early spoiler of the Cowboys schedule. But yes, Thanksgiving Day, 4:30 p.m. The only game on in the country.
Yeah.
At that time. And it's you against one of your biggest rivals, because honestly, you talk to any of the other 3 teams in the NFC, they'll say, oh, we're the bigger rival than those other teams. But one of your biggest rivals in your own division, and this is coming off of the week prior, where they're playing another division opponent in the Commanders. If they lose the next 2 weeks, especially on Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, he's done.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm already saying, McCarthy's gone by the end of the year. He's going to get FedEx next day shipping if he loses on Thanksgiving.
If they lose on Thanksgiving by 10, he's gone. He doesn't even make it back to the locker room. Jury fires him on site.
Could be.
Mark the tape. He's going to do it. If he loses by 10 points,
everybody in that team's got to go. And I would argue even at this point, I realize Jerry doesn't like to do this. That Jerry likes to control his own ship and all this other stuff. He needs to get an actual GM in there.
Oh, well, Dallas is going to win until
I'm not going to be as extreme as some folks and say he needs to sell the team. I don't think we're there yet, but I think it's well past time because it's been however, I don't want to beat a dead horse because I know it's been said on television and podcasts and on print and social media for days now. I'm not going to sit here and say Jerry needs to sell the team because I don't think we're there yet, but I think it's well past time because it's been 20 whatever years since they've won a Super Bowl. You need to bring in a new voice. You need to get a new perspective on things because it's the definition of insanity.
But unfortunately, they're not going to do that because Jerry won't do that. So, Dallas fans, the future is not bright.
The guy who had to get talked out of drafting Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Enough said there.
So, for the record, schedules the next couple of weeks for the Houston Texans this upcoming Sunday, they are at home against the Tennessee Titans. Week 13 on the road playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Boy, that's going to be a real high-scoring affair. Week 14, they're on a bye. Week 15, they come back. They're at home against the Miami Dolphins. And for those Dallas Cowboys, well, we teased 2 of the 4. This upcoming Sunday, they're on the road playing the Washington Commanders. Then on Thanksgiving, they're the 3rd game where they're at home playing the New York Giants. Week 14, they come back, at home against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. Now, thing I want to say about this, because I saw this today. This game will not be flexed out of its spot.
Really?
ABC, ESPN, and Disney are doing one of those, like, you remember the one year they did like the Toy Story cast?
Yeah.
And then they did like the hockey thing with like the animated thing or whatever. They're doing one of these, but Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
So they've got a whole package thing they've worked on, and they've had like the Simpsons animators working on shit. So this game is not getting flexed just for the sheer amount of money Disney and Fox and whoever else had pumped into this fucking matchup. So we're stuck with that one on Monday night.
Yeah, so.
Then week 15, they're on the road playing the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the game that'll be shown in 2 markets.
Yeah, that's kind of where we need to leave it at.
Yep.
Last up, though.
Oh, boy.
You know, it was,
boy.
It was surprising to say this was a leap, but I was shocked to see that this was as close as it was. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this, but the Indianapolis Colts came in, took that disrespect, and snuck out a win against arguably.
Anthony Richardson took it personally.
I'm glad somebody did, because the Jets are bad.
Yep.
They're real bad.
Yep.
They are worse than Carolina, in my opinion.
It's in that conversation. Tankathon.com/NFL would say otherwise, but, you know, they're in that conversation.
The complete meltdown they've had since they fired their
Actually,
coach.
Tankathon.com/NFL says the Jets are worse than Carolina.
Yeah. That's what
Jets
I mean.
got the 7th pick. Carolina's got the 8th pick.
That's what I mean. They're absolutely bad since they fired their head coach. This team is lost. They fired their GM today.
Yep.
Pad, we got to go over the game, but we won't spend too much time on this.
Yeah, so you had the Indianapolis Colts beat the New York Jets 28-27. Anthony Richardson making his triumphant return, 20 of 30, 272 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 29, 184 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Breece Hall led the way for the Jets in rushing with 16 carries, 78 yards, just 1 touchdown. Jonathan Taylor led the way for the Indianapolis with 24 carries, 57 yards, no touchdowns. Josh Downs led the way for Indianapolis with 5 catches, 84 yards, 1 touchdown. And, surprising to absolutely no one, Devontae Adams led the way for the Jets with 6 catches, 72 yards, and no touchdowns.
The only story about this is Anthony Richards showed up.
Yeah, he did.
And had a great bounce back game, which if you're a Colts fan, you got to love to see.
Yeah.
And I think
a little bit of optimism.
Well, I think what the issue is here is he's had way too many injuries too early in his career.
Mm-hmm.
And that might make you a bit nervous. It might start creeping in that you can't play this game. You're going to get hurt again. I mean, there's a lot of psychological things that come in with this. And I think Richardson really wanted to make a statement against the team.
Well, yeah.
And I think he really did a good job with it. And on the flip side, the Jets are lost.
Yep.
That's the easiest way you could describe it. They are lost.
It is literally inmates running the asylum. Everybody is out for themselves. And by that, I mean, they don't give a fuck about the team. Mm-hmm. They don't give a fuck about the culture. They don't give a fuck about, the win-loss record. All they care about is calling up their agents going, hey, what incentives do I have in my contract that I can reasonably hit by the end of the year? Because I want to get my money.
Well, the biggest problem that they have, and we're now seeing the effects of this, and I think Green Bay fans are breathing a sigh of relief at this stage. Aaron Rodgers
fell off a cliff.
Has really turned into a 45-year-old quarterback. The mechanics are not there.
I mean, I effectively said the same thing, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's where...
Yeah.
That's where
it's astonishing to see because...
But is it?
Well, I mean, a couple years ago, he won the MVP.
Right, but we remember Father Time hits at the weirdest moments. We saw this with Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
Brady to a degree.
At least with like Brady, it was kind of like a slow decline. It felt like
right, but Brady
Peyton was kind of more abrupt. Was not so much of a slow decline. It was more of it declined faster. This is like if we're watching a line chart. It's going up, going down, going up, going down, and then it just drops straight down.
Well, you have to look at it like this though. Rodgers on this offseason wasn't sure he still wanted to come back.
Yeah, had to go into darkness with mushrooms for 3 days.
Major ACL surgery.
Yeah.
So right then and there, this has been a grind to come back.
Mm-hmm.
The team
and a fucking distraction
has literally bent over backwards to give him whatever he wants. Whether it's personnel, whether it's coaching, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that said, he's been the center of attention, but you gave too much power to somebody that is not worth it at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
Had this been prime Aaron Rodgers, maybe. Because at that point, he'd be winning games he shouldn't by himself.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he used to do in Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
But to see him drop off like this, I'm not super shocked because we saw this a few years ago with Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
But the only thing that bailed him out is he had a great defense behind him.
That defense saved his ass.
Uh-huh. The same.
That defense won that Super Bowl, not him.
Oh, exactly. It wasn't him.
No.
But in this situation, the Jets have the talent for it, but they don't produce for him.
I mean, do they?
Well, no, on the defensive side?
Oh, the defensive.
Yeah, the defensive
Yeah,
side?
oh, yeah, the defense is always solid.
Well, I mean, except there's some crazy stat with Sauce Gardner. When was the last time he had an interception?
I can probably find that out.
Take a look for a second, then I'll break down the offense for you because for a team that has a star running back in Breece Hall, he's only getting 80 yards and a touchdown. He's the only one doing it, but the passing game is atrocious. I'm sorry, Garrett Wilson still has not developed into the Garrett Wilson they thought it was going to be. Devontae Adams is not prime Devontae Adams. Breece Hall is your number 2 wide receiver with 7 receptions.
Right.
So put that in perspective with 43 yards. So he's the only offensive spark you have.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else you have on your team on the offensive side of the ball, including Devontae Adams at this stage, is not producing.
Right.
And not winning you anything. And I'm sorry, for an aging quarterback that has completely dropped off, Father Time has caught up with him, however you want to define it, there isn't any signs of life on this team, and everybody's ready to move on. I think Rodgers will retire on his own in this offseason. It's just a matter of him getting there.
So I got your answer. I had to look this up in 2 places because when I looked it up on statmuse.com, I didn't believe it. Sauce Gardner's last interception came against the Buffalo Bills on November 6th, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
He has not had an interception in 2 years.
That's all you really need to say about that defense and how great of a player he is.
And it was only 1 interception.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, his only other interception, and that's for his entire career, folks.
Yeah.
He was drafted number 4 overall, 2022. He's got 2 interceptions for his entire career. One against the Buffalo Bills in November, and then the other one was in October against Miami.
Yeah. That's all you really need to say about that.
Elite defender, my ass.
Yeah. He's a great player, but he's just not producing.
He was in the fucking Pro Bowl. He didn't even have an interception.
Yeah. But you take a look at the rest of the team. That they're not doing anything. I mean, other than Quentin Williams got a sack. There's nothing else going on with this team that is worth the time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Jets are doing the right thing.
I'll say for all the noise that was made about Hassan Reddick and won't he show up, what the fuck has he done?
He hasn't done anything. 1 tackle. Literally, that's all he got.
So I just saw his name, but I lost. I'm trying to find where.
Bottom of the page. Yeah, literally.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
He's got 1. I mean.
Yeah, 1 tackle, not even solo, and then no sack, no tackle for loss. So he just hit the ball carrier or the catcher or the receiver.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, this is supposed to be a really tough defense, and they're all just kind
of. Now, granted, he's played what is this 4 games now? His 2024 regular season stats. You ready for these? It's hard to wrap your head around these. 1 solo tackle, half a sack.
Yeah,
that's it.
That can pretty much sum up a Jets defense that should be playing lights out. Instead, the lights are fully on, and nobody's home.
Mm-hmm.
Easiest way to describe it, Jets are starting to dismantle a team. That's the call to make. And for the Colts, well, I mean, with Richardson, we'll have to see what they do now because I think ultimately they have some destiny in their hands. I believe they're number 8 in the playoffs right now.
Right.
If they can put some wins together, they got a chance to make some noise.
Yeah, Colts are number 8. They are right behind the Denver Broncos we talked about earlier, who are 6-5. Colts are 5-6. Miami is right behind the Colts at 4-6. So they're in the mix.
Yeah, they're in the discussion. So they just have to put together some more wins. If Richardson can stay healthy, they got a very bright future.
Yeah, no, you would think. So for the next couple of games for these 2 teams, starting with the Indianapolis Colts this upcoming Sunday, they are at home against the Detroit Lions, Week 13, on the road playing the New England Patriots. Boy, I'm not going to sweat that game like years past. Mm-hmm. Week 14, they're on a bye, and then Week 15, they're on the road playing the Denver Broncos. For the New York Football Jets, because, boy, they still have to play, they're actually on a bye this upcoming Sunday. So then Week 13, they come back. They're at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Week 14, on the road playing the Miami Dolphins. And then Week 15, they're staying in the Sunshine State on the road playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. In a game that'll be shown maybe in two places.
Maybe.
Fun fact, the Jets game was supposed to be on here in our local area and then got flexed the day of for the Baltimore Ravens Pittsburgh Steelers game.
Smart move there on all levels.
Yep.
All right, let's take a quick lap around the league and wrap this up.
Yeah, so your Thursday night game was the Philadelphia Eagles defeating the Washington Commanders 26-18.
Philly's turning on at the right time. A good loss for the Commanders. I know that sounds weird to say, but Jalen Daniels is still learning the system of the NFL, and especially in a rookie year. They're still going to be a contender if they get in those playoffs, but like I say, this is Philly starting to turn on at the right point, so big news for them.
Detroit Lions put an ass kicking on Jacksonville, 52-6.
Best team in football is doing it to the worst team in football.
They must have heard the podcast or might have gotten a hold of some of our direct DMs because I was laughing and couldn't believe that the line when it opened was Detroit by 13 because, boy, they covered.
As long as Detroit stays healthy, they'll be fine.
Just so you know, Mac Jones, 17-29, 138 yards, 1 interception. But please, go on how he's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Minnesota Vikings beat the Tennessee Titans 23-13.
Well, the Vikings are starting to turn it back on, which if you're the fan base, you got to be excited about.
Sam Darnold MVP conversation might be back on.
Listen, I will say this. He has to be in that conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's going to win.
No, God, no.
But he has to be in that conversation, and especially for salvaging his career this late.
Yes.
By all means, more power to him.
Then you had the Miami Dolphins defeat the Las Vegas Raiders 34-19.
A lot of rumors circulating about Antonio Pierce's job.
Yeah.
And there's a hot name that's kind of rumored to be attached as his replacement.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel.
So my whole thing with the Raiders, now that we're here, what the fuck is up with your prices, Las Vegas Raiders? Because I saw a thing on social media today, and it's all over some news sites. If you got a sheet pizza and half a dozen wings, chicken tenders at the stadium, what do you think that would cost you?
Okay, well, we have to adjust for stadium prices.
Uh-huh.
But you're saying...
It's a sheet pizza. I'm looking at the pizza. I'll show you the pizza. Sheet pizza, But
that's a round. That's not really
a
sheet.
Round pizza, pepperoni, nothing crazy, nothing special. And then you just got plain old chicken tenders.
I will say $100.
Boy, you're off by a lot. Try $653.18.
Out of here.
Well, the pizza, it's called the Pizza Rock. That was $300. And crispy chicken tenders, $190. So the subtotal was $490. There was an administrative charge of $112.70. Sales tax was $50.48. For a grand total of $653.18. Fuck off with those prices.
That can't be right.
I'm looking at the photo.
I understand. No, I see your photo, but I think that can't be right. There's no way.
Yeah, it says please.
Even with the price of food at stadiums, which is always doubled up. In my opinion.
Bottom of the receipt, it says after you get the gratuity, total, and signature, it says I agree to pay the total amount above total amount according to my card issuer agreement. Please note that all food and beverage items are subject to a 23% administrative charge plus applicable sales tax.
Something still seems fishy about that. I mean, I see what you're saying, and that's wild.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
But
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to investigate a little further, though.
Then you had the New Orleans Saints beat the Cleveland Browns 35-14.
Well, I mean, what can you say about this one?
Okay, go for the Saints.
Yeah, I mean,
Taysom Hill, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can really say about this one. Both teams are not doing anything in the postseason. I think they're just trying to get healthy and see what they got for next season.
Real good day for Taysom Hill owners. 138 yards. Whew.
Yeah, fantasy owners, you had a lot of stuff to be happy about.
Pittsburgh beat the Baltimore Ravens 18-16.
Great game. Listen, this is AFC North to the letter.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be a slugfest every time out.
Yep.
And... I mean, what else can you really say? I mean, this was a great game.
Yeah.
It's wild to think, though, about the Steelers being 8-2.
Yes.
I thought we all said they were
especially with the questions at quarterback.
Yeah, they were going to sneak in the playoffs, but I don't think they were going to take the division. But yet now they have a comfortable 2-game lead. This is a very, very strong accomplishment for Mike Tomlin and company. And I fully think for Derrick Henry, who fumbled for the first time, I think, in history.
A while.
I mean, it felt like history. The Steelers just really came out and really played physical. This was a hard-hitting game. I mean, there's nothing really to say. I know there's some questions about the kicking. Listen, I still take Justin Tucker over any kicker in the league for the most part.
Yeah, until the until the announcers say something about how good a kicker he is, and then he fucking misses it.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like I say, it was a bad day for him, but I still would go with him over a good majority of the league still. So
Derrick Henry 3 fumbles this year.
this season, wow, it doesn't even feel like that.
One on Sunday against the Steelers. He had another one in early November against the Denver Broncos, and then his other one was in. I'm surprised you don't remember this. Late September against the Buffalo Bills.
Well, that game he was running crazy, so I think if he gave him something, it was just kind of a like, hey, I've already ran 300 yards and 4 touchdowns on you, like something like that.
Yeah.
Because like I say, that game I just kind of blurred out.
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah.
Then you had the Seattle Seahawks beat the San Francisco 49ers 20-17.
49ers are in trouble.
Yeah, they are.
Even though they're 5-5, I think Seattle is. You have to think Seattle and Arizona are still playing at a high level.
Yeah, they are.
And for the 49er team that should be running away with this division,
Yep.
they are not. So I don't exactly know where the disconnect is.
They're not. They're not even in fucking first place. They're in last place in the NFC West.
Yeah.
And then for the playoff seedings, they are in 10th.
Yeah. So they need a lot of work, but this was a very bad loss for them.
Mm-hmm.
And for Seattle, I mean, they're the most unpredictable team in the league.
This is true.
We never know where they're going to get out of it. But for Geno Smith, who I know this was a really big win for, especially, scoring that late touchdown to win it.
Uh-huh.
Huge move for him. Huge.
Mm-hmm. Then you had the Sunday night game where the Los Angeles Chargers beat the Cincinnati Bengals 34-27.
I have never seen a better 4-7 team than I have seen with the Bengals.
Yeah, good Lord.
And
Talk about not being able to close out a game.
Yeah, they just can't close. That's the easiest way to describe it. Unfortunately, this team will not be the same next season. T. Higgins is gone. I don't know where he's going to wind up, but he's gone. Jamar Chase might be gone too. Who knows?
I think they upped him.
Well, they should, but I think this team, as you see it right now, which should be well above 500 in their record, is not even close. On the flip side to this, Justin Herbert and company are playing very, very elite, and it's almost to the point that they're taking that title we gave them as the most inconsistent team in football and really starting to play solid. And you don't have a lot of superstars on this team.
Right.
But they're playing as a team, and that's scary, especially getting to the postseason.
So Jamar Chase has a club option for the next year on his contract, after which they're going to pick that up.
Well, they're going to pick that up,
Yep.
but his comments he's making.
Oh, he's not. He'll play one more year in Cincinnati, and then he's gone.
Yeah, I would imagine
because after 2025, he's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, but they'll have to do something to keep him back. Like I just say, I think the window for Cincinnati is closing very, very fast, and I don't know necessarily if they are going to bounce back that quickly. Not wishing it on them, but I'm just doing the optic test. Like there's some disconnect going on there,
Yeah.
and if they can't close, they can't close, and that's going to be a short window for Joe Burrow and company.
Yeah. The other thing, too, I'll bring up since they were off this week, mercifully. But the reason Drew Lock is not getting the start over Tommy DeVito, if you look up his contract details and some of the notes, especially on Spotrac, he's got a lot of incentives that aren't reachable for him. He's got a playing time incentive, which is cumulative. He gets $250,000 for each of the 40%, 50%, 60%, and 70% plus snaps he plays. He's got a passing incentives cumulative. If he gets to 92.5% passer rating, he gets $250,000. 65% completion rating, he gets $250,000. If he gets an 88 passer rating plus 15 touchdown passes, he gets $250,000. That same passer rating plus 2,000 passing yards, he gets another $250,000. And he's got team incentives if he gets 55% to 69% of the snaps and a playoff berth, he gets $500,000. And then if he plays 70% of the snaps and a playoff berth, he gets another $500,000.
Because they just want to give him his bonus.
Yeah. So
Essentially.
he's got some. I'd say pretty, not all of them, but he's got some pretty attainable incentives, and, well, they don't want to pay him.
No comment. I'll just leave it at that. That's just no comment.
Then we got to get to our two teams. The Patriots lost a close one. I'll say this. They made a game out of this. I'll give them credit for that. They lost to the LA Rams 28-22. It was 14-10 at halftime and was looking kind of iffy after the third, where the Rams put up 14 to the Patriots 3. But they came back in the fourth quarter, though, a little bit. I made a game out of it. 9 points for the Patriots, to the Rams, none. Drake May, not bad. I'll say this. Again, you get this man a competent O-line because, Lord, he was running for his life. You get him a competent O-line and maybe another receiver, too. You might have something there.
Patriots are playing tough even though the record doesn't reflect it.
Yep.
And I think that's a testament to Mayo, and I think that's a testament to Drake May.
Welcome back, Kendrick Bourne. 5 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown.
Well, they're starting to get out of the Belichick shadow.
Yeah.
And they have to forge their own path. So I think this is a good loss for them in the sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because at least May's developing confidence. But you are right. They need an offensive line there.
Yeah, they do.
They're pieces away from really being
contending.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to wait and see about that.
Then I get to your game, which nobody really watched.
Oh my God, the game of the weekend, and it lived up to the heavyweight bout, where those Buffalo Bills punched Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs right in the mouth and gave them their first loss of the season. Mahomes. 23 for 33, $196, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions.
Yep.
2 interceptions.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt ran for 60 yards on 14 carries. Receiving, Xavier Worthy, 4 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Travis Kelce, 2 catches, 8 yards.
On 4 targets.
Yeah, on 4 targets. Just want to put that out there. Just let everybody know about that. On the flip of the coin, the contending MVP candidate Josh Allen, 27 for 40, 262, 1-1. What can you say about that? But the big story, and especially the play of the year, 12 carries, 55 yards, and 1 touchdown that iced the game late. And in my mind, I think McDermott was trying to call in the kicker.
Yeah.
And Allen said, not on my watch.
Yeah, something seemed up about that.
I think he said absolutely not. And you know what? I applaud him for that, because if you are a longtime listener of this podcast, you know my feelings when the clock is under 3 minutes and McDermott is coaching and Tyler Bass is on the side of the field.
You do not watch.
I do not watch. And I saw that when time was coming down and it was 4th and 2 and the Bills were driving, I was like, Josh, just go for a QB sneak. That's all I want. Just extend the play. You didn't even have to go score. You still had it up late.
Sure.
But they took a risk and it paid off in this sense.
Yeah.
James Cook, though, 9 carries, 20 yards, 2 TDs.
It's not bad.
Khalil Shakir, 8 catches, 70 yards. Curtis Samuel, 5 catches, 58 yards, and 1 touchdown. Amari Cooper did play 2 and 55 on 3 targets. So the moral of this, though, is Patrick Mahomes was getting hit. He was feeling pressure. He did not take a sack per se.
No, he got 2 of them on the box score.
Yeah, but
7 quarterback hits.
Yeah.
And a rare bad defensive game for Spagnuolo.
Yeah.
No sacks on Josh Allen. And meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs only had 4 quarterback hits. And that was the thing I noticed for both teams was, especially early, was they were getting pressure, but then they really wouldn't get to either quarterback. And then the defense in like the linebacking area and then the secondary was really like not really doing a whole lot.
Well, the one thing that the Bills did, which they haven't usually done, is they played man coverage throughout this game. And they usually don't against the Chiefs. They just, for whatever reason, they don't. And the fact they did, the Chiefs wide receivers were having some difficulty. I'm not saying shutdown. I don't want anybody saying that.
Right.
But Mahomes, I don't think adapted well enough to it.
Sure.
And I think that that's what gave him some problems.
He definitely seemed a little rattled.
Well, the thing is, he does not like getting hit.
No.
But granted, what quarterback does? But the fact that he got 7 hits, that was not sitting well with him.
And that's not even counting like the knockdown or the drop backs or the rushes that like you see on the broadcast that don't show up in the box score.
Yeah. So when this was happening, he was not pleased.
No.
And this rattles him because the one thing that you have to do is give him pressure. As much as he can do all the cross body passes he can do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's feeling pressure, and you have to just hit him and frustrate him. And that's what the Bills did because they took his biggest weapon out of the equation.
Yep.
Sorry, Travis Kelce, 2 catches, 8 yards.
Maybe it was a little bit of bad juju And I'm not talking Juju Smith-Schuster because his girlfriend is up in the Buffalo Bills' secondary home of Toronto.
Well, there was a lot of, if you want to believe the rumors, and I stress rumors, we don't dive into this nonsense.
Sure.
The last time that Taylor came to the Bills stadium,
it was the playoff game.
It was not a pleasant experience.
Well, the other thing, too, is from what I heard from a friend, a.k.a. my wife, she had 9 sold-out shows up in Toronto.
Oh yeah, but I think the case is she still would have came down.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if she really was not having a good time at the game, because let's face it,
It's fucking January in Buffalo. What the fuck do you expect?
Well, exactly. Well, it's technically November, but
no, I'm saying based off of if she didn't have a good experience last time.
Oh, and
her experience last time was January in fucking Buffalo. That's like going to Disney World on the 4th of July and going, why is it so busy?
No, but playoff Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not defending the fans.
Oh, sure.
Bills Mafia in a playoff game is nuts as is.
Oh yeah.
Like I think the worst Super Bowl you could ever imagine is the Bills and the Eagles.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, I think if the Raiders were playing better, that would be an even scarier matchup.
Yeah.
But right now, Bills Mafia against Eagle fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can understand if she wanted to sit this one out because she did not feel comfortable or didn't have a good time at the last game.
Sure.
If that is the case, like I say, strictly rumor.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it if you want. I tend to believe it because I know the fans up there are not gracious. I mean, I think Jason Kelsey got a pass for the most part.
Yeah.
But he was also out there partying with a good majority of them. But
yeah.
We don't know, but that's what I'm going to go with. But at the end of the day, though, Kelsey got shut down.
Yep.
Every other wide receiver on that team got shut down.
Yeah, you mentioned Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, 3 for 29, Justin Watson, 2 for 26, Noah Gray, 4 for 23, Nicole Hardman, 2 for 12, Peyton Hendershot, 1 for 11, Juju Smith-Schuster, 1 for 8. You mentioned Kelsey. Then you got Samaje Perine, 2 for 8, Mike Caliendo, 1 for 5, and Carson Steele, 1 for 5.
Yeah, so nobody there really stepped up and had a breakout.
And for whatever reason, they didn't turn to the run game or lean on the run game a little more because 14 carries, 60 yards. And then you had McCole Hardman, 1 for 9, Xavier Worthy, 1 for 7, Carson Steele, 1 for 2.
Well, I mean, Pacheco's still out.
Right, which when he comes back, that may help, may not help. We'll see.
It may not, but I'd also be a little worried for him at this stage because he's coming off a very serious injury.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily how that's going to affect him coming back.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait to see. Kareem Hunt, I thought, did solid.
For what it is in the stat line, it's not bad.
No,
the other guys could have leaned on the other guys a little bit.
Well, they should have, but I think this is where the Bills' defense really stole the show here. Mm-hmm. And I think that they wanted to set the tempo early. They played very physical, which I think they wanted to for all the nonsense that was going on pregame.
Yeah.
And this really puts them in a very good position for a possible number 1 seed when the time comes.
It's in the conversation.
It's in the conversation as long as Josh Allen stays healthy. But I think what he did there in that play, and I know a lot of people, it depends on what side of the fence you're on. Either you love seeing that play over and over or you hate it. But what he did is he sent a message to his team.
It's a brilliant play.
And he sent a message to the rest of the league.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make sure that they sent that loud and clear, especially to Kansas City.
Right.
So they did their job. Huge win. They got the bye this week, which is good. They just need to come back hungry and still want that number 1 seed.
I'd say if Buffalo can afford to lose 1, maybe 2 more games and still keep the number 1 seed in contention, because right now Kansas City's number 1 overall with 9-1. Buffalo's 9-2. But if Kansas City loses another game and Buffalo wins out, well, then Buffalo gets the number 1 overall seed based on head-to-head matchup.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
A lot of moving parts there.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to wait to see how it all plays out because, like I say, Pittsburgh could still sneak in there, though.
Could be.
But that's the beauty of football. We just have to watch every Sunday and see what plays out. In the meantime, though, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. Week 11 of the NFL is in the books. How did your team do? Let's talk about it, shall we? But first, we're going to get a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do you like comic books?
What about movies and TV shows?
Well, we may be the show for you.
We're Hops Geek News, a weekly podcast that discusses comics, movies, and TV shows while featuring a beer of the week.
Every week, we chat about what we messed up on the week before, and then we dive into what we're reading and watching, as well as some news.
We then wrap it up with a geek-themed topic of the week.
You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching Hops Geek News.
Cheers.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and the UFC's return to MSG had some fireworks, had a lot of storylines going on, so we have to recap the weekend that was UFC 309 from Madison Square Garden. So, Pad, let's get into it.
Yeah, in front of an announced attendance of 20,200 people. Good Lord. I'm going to just jump right into the main card, although we do got to give a shout out to the prelim card and specifically my wife for correctly predicting all 4 winners on the prelims. It was fucking wild to watch.
That was insane.
Yeah, it was. And then we get to the main card where the first matchup on the main card was a catchweight bout at 166.2 pounds, where Mauricio Ruffy defeated James Lontop by unanimous decision. All 3 judges scoring the contest 29-28.
What else can you say about that one?
It was a decent matchup, but nothing real sexy.
Yeah, decent, but nothing really to write home about.
Next up was the women's flyweight division, where Vivian Araujo defeated Karine Silva via unanimous decision. Again, all 3 judges scoring the contest 29-28.
Yeah, this one, I mean, I had a feeling Araujo was going to pull this off. It wasn't the greatest fight, though.
No.
I think that you'll notice that in at least 3 of these main card fights that we're going to be breaking down, there wasn't a lot to write home about. I mean, they were solid for what they were, but I didn't walk away with a wow factor.
Yeah.
And this is especially with a crowd that was excited.
Yeah.
The energy was high.
Yeah.
I really thought these fights brought it down.
A little bit. Well, and
Badly.
it put me to sleep a bit because, spoiler alert, the first 4 out of the 5 fights on this main card all went to decision.
Yeah.
And I was starting to fall asleep. Next up, though, was the middleweight division, where Bo Nickal defeated Paul Craig via unanimous decision. 30-27 was the score from all 3 judges.
Well, I think the easiest way you can describe this is disappointing.
Yep.
I think Bo Nickal, who came in with so much hype, so much around him, like that it factor, came in against a very tough Paul Craig and played it safe and really did not, in my opinion, do anything to establish himself as a star in the making.
Right.
I think this was something, if this was a strategy on purpose, I think he completely missed the mark. I mean, this was honestly a very bad showing for him.
Yeah.
I know he can try spinning it into something else per se, but I wouldn't, because I literally sat here and said, why is he afraid to engage? Why is he sitting there playing it too safe? Like, if you are a wrestler, you are a grappler, this is what you're supposed to do, and you did not even attempt anything. Like, what is going on? Like, I'm sorry, that's the way I did.
No, it was boring, and we're not the only ones saying this. One Israel Adesanya chimed in on his YouTube channel saying, quote, "It's a boring fight, that's all. He's letting it go away. Even when he hurt him, he's not comfortable on the feet. He looks good striking, but he's not comfortable. He hurt him, but he didn't know how to get close. Even just fake a takedown to get close and throw some combos," close quote.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, especially for his grappling, he didn't shoot a takedown. Like, I'm sorry. You're in this position. You're on pay-per-view. People want to see fights. This isn't supposed to be so much of a chess match.
If I want to watch ballet dancing, I'll go ballroom dancing. I'll go watch Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, because if you literally, after that performance, put him in against anyone in that middleweight top 10,
Sure.
Roman Doze, Brendan Allen, Jared Connolly, Vittori, Kale Barol, Imanov, Whitaker, Chimaev, Adesanya, Strickland. It don't matter.
I'll tell you right now, Hamzat will eat him alive.
Oh, he would get eaten alive by anybody. Hell, if you even took it like that top 15, I think if he tried playing it that safe against a Michael Pereira would just outstrike him from a distance. So this is a bad loss for him.
And I'll say this,
or win, I should say.
Nikal's comments about this whole thing and kind of the reaction everyone's having are interesting because Bo was on the Ariel Helwani show, and he said specifically about some of the commentary and the comments people are making, quote, "When I watched the fight back, something that was a little disappointing was the commentary and just kind of hearing the way they were looking at the fight. It made me feel like they didn't really know what was going on. Anybody that I've talked to, the people that I trust and shoot straight with me, they're like, dude, you shut that guy out. total domination. It was a flawless victory. To hear things like DC say, oh, he's not ready for Hamzat, I think he was trying to be respectful, but also like trying to like, I don't know, maybe set me down a peg. It was just weird to hear, but I just feel like that people that I know that are in my corner and would give me honest, genuine feedback, they're very happy with the victory. I was very happy with the victory. So that's what I really care about at the end of the day. But it was a little disappointing to hear some of the comments from people I respect a lot, close quote.
I'm sorry. I sided with DC on this.
I do too, because listen, if he's happy with the fight, that's fine and dandy. But I'll say this. That fight ain't going to get you a lot of wins or repertoire or whatever it is, that unmeasurable statistic that helps you get a title fight. Because when I'm looking at potential opponents for anybody in the UFC, I'm thinking, all right, who have they faced? And if any fights they had come to mind, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? They had a good matchup against this guy. She had a good matchup against her. That'd be a great matchup. That'd be whatever. I'm not going to remember this fight in hell 3 weeks.
No, I think the only thing you'll remember is he was afraid to go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my opinion.
And wasn't this the one fight where, and I think you alluded to it earlier, but I was looking up the quotes. Wasn't this one where like he stood there, hit the guy, and then just stood there?
Yeah.
Like, and we were screaming at him like, what are you doing? It's like the lights were on, but nobody was home.
He played too safe. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I understand he's still new to this MMA style.
Sure.
I get it. I do. And listen, if he wants to feel confident about it, by all means. But I'm going to say this. If he does this again against anyone in that top 15. All right, so I'm going back to the rankings on this one.
Let's see. We're in what, middleweight?
Yep.
All right, so we're going 15 down or just the top 15?
You go from 11 to 15.
All right, so 11, 15. 11 is Paulo Costa. 12 is Jack Hermanson. 13 is Anthony Hernandez. 14 is Shara Magomedov. And 15 is Michael Pereira.
I'm going to say this right now. I think if he went against any one of those 15 and tried doing that same style performance, he would get absolutely wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
I think the striking of Hermanson, and I think Pereira especially, would give him fits. Paulo Costa, that would be an interesting grappling test.
Yeah.
But at the same point, if you want to get ahead on that card, you can't be doing fights like this.
Sure.
Because honestly, we are in the fight business.
Uh-huh.
And after that kind of fight, like what kind of business would you be doing?
And he wants to sit here and politic himself into a possible Hamzat fight? I mean, I just pulled up Hamzat's record because I'm not intimately familiar.
Oh, sure.
I don't have it off the top of my head. Spoiler alert, folks, for those of you who don't remember professionally, he's 14-0.
Yeah.
And the amateur record is included because there is an amateur record listed. He's 3-0. So for his total career, amateur and pro, he's 17-0. You want to know how many decision wins he's got in his pro career?
0.
2.
Really?
His only 2 decisions was one against a majority decision win against Kamaru Usman.
Oh, Usman.
And then there was a unanimous decision win against Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
In his amateur career, none.
Yeah.
2 submissions and a TKO. Everything else in his pro career, the other 12 wins, 6 are by knockout, 6 are by submission. So in his entire career, he's gone the full distance twice.
Yeah.
And you want to sit there and you're a guy who barely, let's be honest, barely beat Paul Craig, who, let me pull up the rankings on this one. Paul Craig, who, as I currently record and look at the middleweight division,
he's not there.
He's not even in the top 15?
Yeah.
You want to sit there and go, oh, yeah, I'm a contender.
Listen, you want politic all you want. You can politic all you want, but it's not going to get you anywhere because at the end of the day, Dana and the powers that be with the UFC is too smart.
I don't want to say I agree 100% with the overrated chants that were thrown his way. I don't think we're there yet, but it was boring as fuck.
Overrated, no. But I will say this. If you're trying to win over that crowd in some kind of capacity, you failed.
Yep.
And you failed badly. Because what everybody remembers is, what did you do in this cage? Now, this is Paul Craig, who's right outside that top 15.
Right.
You did nothing. So to get a bigger fight, I don't know necessarily if that's in the cards.
I don't think so.
I just don't think a bigger one is there at this stage.
If it's me and I'm the powers that be, I give him Shara Magomedov or Pereira 14-15.
Yeah,
if that.
I mean, I could,
and that's a stretch.
I could stretch the Hernandez at 13.
Sure,
I could stretch that.
Any higher, you're ridiculous.
Well, Hermanson is another one too, but because I mean he's on the back end there
Sure.
for that division. So
Sure.
any one of those would make sense. I would say but I wouldn't go higher than 13 to be honest with you. I think Hernandez is the only one that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But like I say, because he needs to come out his next fight and he needs to be dominant in the sense of he needs to take somebody down, don't let him up. Like there's a way about being dominant.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. Like
no, he needs to come out like a bat out of hell, like a bull seeing red, like whatever metaphor you want to use. That is what he needs to do.
Yeah, and he didn't do that here.
Next up was the co-main event, and this fight earned Fight of the Night honors, and each fighter got a $50,000 bonus because god damn. Lightweight division fight where Charles Oliveira defeated Michael Chandler via unanimous decision. All two judges scoring the contest, 49-46. The third judge scoring the contest 49-45.
Well, we have to remember in this fight, Charles Oliveira was looking phenomenal early.
Yeah, it was.
And Michael Chandler was matching him. Like Michael Chandler was doing everything he could to gain some advantage. But Charles Oliveira, once he gets submission hooks in you, you're not doing anything. Chandler fought very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, Oliveira just imposes will that much more. For Chandler, though, it's not a bad loss because he was fighting right in that fifth round.
Mm-hmm.
And once he got to that fifth round, he showed the biggest amount of heart I think I've seen in quite some time. He finally clipped him. He was doing some damage. He couldn't get after Oliveira, though, did do takedowns to get him out of space. I mean, Chandler did one very foolish mistake in that fifth round.
Yeah.
He should have got him back right on his feet. Instead, he let Oliveira recover when he pulled him in the guard.
Yep.
That was the only thing I thought Chandler screwed up royally in this fight. Because had he gone back to the feet, I think he would have taken him. I think
easily.
So now, I mean, now the question is, where do both go from here? I think the easy answer is for Oliveira. He's getting a title shot depending on when that's going to be. I think it just because I know that technically Machev does have a fight with Trukin coming up at some point, I think. But I don't necessarily know when that is. So we'll have to wait to see.
Yeah.
But depending on when all that is, because I believe there's like a suspension involved or some kind of.
I'm trying to dig up and find something. Yeah, there's nothing officially announced yet.
Yeah. So I think though that is kind of the only gray area per se.
SportsIllustrated.com, for what that's worth, is reporting that Makhachev versus Arman Sarukin is reportedly booked for next year.
Okay, so
reportedly.
Yeah.
So take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean you have to take it for what it's worth there, but like I say, I want to say.
So if that is the case, we'll say Makhachev versus Sarukin, winner gets Oliveira.
Yeah, I mean that's the only fight that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, unless
and God forbid they both get injured and they're all out an extended period of time, then you got to figure out, because behind Oliveira you got Gaethje, Poirier, Holloway, Dan Hooker, Chandler again.
Oh, that lightweight division is loaded.
Gamrot, Darush, Moicano. So I mean, there's a fight you can make if something happens.
There's always fights you can make. It just depends on what Oliveira wants to do.
Hell, Oliveira could be ballsy, go up to welterweight, face one of those guys for fun.
Yeah, I see.
Could go down him. You never know.
See,
I just saw. Give me fucking Oliveira versus Volkanovski.
I see. Here's
I'm fantasy booking now. Come on.
You can fantasy book all you want, but I think in his case, there's only certain fights you can do. Like him versus Volkanovski, I think would be an intriguing one at 155.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know necessarily if that's one that they want to do.
Probably not.
I could see that. Like I say, that could possibly be one that would make some sense.
Sure.
But it depends on Oliveira at this stage, because remember, he's not exactly young in that career anymore.
No, he's not.
So you have to remember that.
Currently 35 years old. Just turned 35 back in October.
Yeah, so you have to remember that. Mm-hmm. And this is where his stuff's a little crazy going on. So he has to wait to see. And he has to wait for the Tarukin. I remember Tarukin did get in trouble. Okay. Because that was the one he got into the fight with a fan.
Oh, that's right.
At UFC 300.
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah. So, there's going to be a little delay for him. So, but if they want to get him back in, like I say, that would make some sense.
Yeah.
So we have to wait to see, but I think going back to it, I know it's kind of like you can kind of fan speculate for Oliveira.
Sure.
Title shot is the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can try have him go against somebody like, whatever, for the BMF title. At this stage, why? Like, because the thing is, if you do a submission in a BMF fight, isn't that a letdown?
Yeah, in terms of what the title stands for, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to wait to see about that, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, I think for him that makes sense. For Chandler, at this stage, it's tough to put him in a title position.
Yeah.
So you can try hoping Connor gets his stuff together and you do that fight.
Believe that when I see it.
Right. Otherwise, I think in his case, you have to wait and see. But he's too entertaining of a fighter
Oh, God, yeah.
to be sitting out.
Yeah.
So depending on how that all plays out, we'll have to see. If they have a marquee fight come up, like maybe him and Holloway,
I think he threw that name out, yeah.
that would be something to do. I would say I wouldn't doubt maybe him and a Masvidal.
Ooh.
Like, that could be fun.
That'd be good.
But like I say, he's in a position where I don't think he's going to get near the title picture unless he goes on a hell of a win streak.
Yeah.
So I think for him, that would be the safest bet, is get Connor. That'll be a big payday for you, and then decide what you want to do from there.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Then you get the main event, the fight we were all here to see, and that was for the heavyweight division championship, where John Bones Jones defeated Stipe Miocic via TKO with a spinning back kick and punches at 4 minutes and 29 seconds of the third round.
Well, this one I think went as well as we all thought it was going to be. I think
Yes and no.
we hoped that Stipe was going to pull off a miracle.
Yes. Well, we all did.
Yeah, but unfortunately, John Jones came in and did John Jones things.
Well, yes and no.
Oh, break it down.
Well, no, he came in and did John Jones things, and that he was very dominating and win, but he did not start as we all expected. We all expected that slow, methodical,
Yeah, he came
grappling match. He's reaching and he's not reaching. Now, he came in and he punched him in the fucking mouth.
Yeah, no, he went out to make a statement early, which is a smart play for him.
Fun fact, too, because I was curious about this the night of the fight, and after we got done watching the fights, this is John's first TKO win, knockout, because his last knockout win was against Alexander Gustafsson in 2018. But this is his first TKO since April 27th, 2013, against Chael Sonnen.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
It's
It's been a while.
It's been a while, but you got to remember, though, with the amount of time he's been in and out of the cage, he's been doing a lot more decisions lately.
And for those of you sitting there, well, what about the Daniel Cormier fight that's a no contest? That was originally a KO.
Yeah.
Not a TKO.
Right. But I think in this situation, though, Stipe Miocic looked old.
Yes.
I mean, he did not look like the Stipe
And
of old. He
and I
just
think
looked old.
they had Teddy Atlas on the post-fight show on ESPN, and I thought he brought up something very interesting. He compared it to when Ali came back after however many years off it was.
Oh, yeah. No, it's up there.
And he just didn't have the legs. You can say the same thing about Miocic. That, like, okay, he looked great from a punching perspective, but you just couldn't see him close the gap and close the distance, literally, between him and John. That John would run around, and at the start there was a little bit of running, and he'd be able to close it, but it very quickly slowed down.
He very quickly slowed down, and that's when John started picking him apart.
And it's like I've said before, it is fine and dandy if you go up against some of the greatest heavyweights in UFC, Bellator, WEC, pick your federation of all time in training. There's a difference between training and getting in the octagon and someone is actively trying to take your head off. Mm-hmm. There's a difference because in training, you're not trying to take somebody's head off. You're trying to learn.
Yeah. So now the big question is, where does John go from here? Because Miocic retired right there. As he should.
Yes. Well, John goes to the bank because whoever he gets next, he's going to get paid.
Well, I mean, we have to kind of take a look.
Logically, it would be Aspinall. Aspinall is the interim champion. He is the number one overall contender if this were UFC, whatever number the game is right now. Mm-hmm. That would be the fight. But this isn't the game. We're dealing with live human beings with their own thoughts and opinions and whatever else, so that may or may not happen.
Well, the big question mark that would be looming about here is if you don't take the fight with Aspinall, which everybody wants to see.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think John wants that at this age.
Not for a steep sum of money.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's going to get paid.
Everybody's got to quote the $1 Million Man, everybody's got a price.
Well, he does, but I think in this sense, too, he also has to think legacy.
Sure.
And I think Aspinall is very young, very hungry.
Aspinall's the closest thing to who's in that division now who could probably beat him.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
Gane, no. Volkov, probably not. Sergey Pavlovich, nah. Curtis Blades, yeah.
No, Aspinall is the only chance.
Yeah.
So that is one option.
Yep.
I know another one that's been floating around, but listen, I'm going to say everybody temper your expectations. Is if John decided to go back to 205 to fight Pereira, or Pereira move up to fight him.
Catch weight, why not?
Well,
Do a catch weight fight, non-title.
But here's the thing. Okay, if you do that, you take two champions out of the equation for however many months.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think why?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Pereira.
I get the luster and I get the allure
Sure.
of doing Pereira, but I don't want to see it. I don't care.
Well, the thing about it is this would play so well into John's favor.
Yeah.
Because Pereira doesn't have a ground game.
This is true.
Pereira just has power in his hands for days, and he could probably knock John out. That's the incentive to watch the fight, because that's the only, could John get knocked out at this stage? But all John needs to do is take him down, and then it's over. 12
wins for Pereira, 2 by decision, 10 by knockout, none by submission.
Yeah, he has no ground game.
He is currently on a 4 knockout streak.
Yeah,
knocked out Roundtree, knocked out Porchaka, knocked out Jamal Hall-Hill, knocked out Porchaka again, and then in the last decision he had was a split decision win against Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, so there's no point. I'm sorry, if they make that fight, it's going to be foolish.
His only other decision win was a unanimous decision win against Bruno Silva in March of 2022.
Yeah, so why? Why even bother?
Yeah.
So I don't see that fight happening.
No.
So the only other option is John retires. Now, this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
If he retires, does he try breaking his contract with the UFC to go fight Francis Ngannou?
He tries. I don't think they let him do it, though.
Right, that would be the only thing.
I don't know how long he's got left on it, but I don't think they let him do it.
Depending on how the length of the contract and the wording is.
And how good his lawyers are.
Because I would do this if I was the UFC, but then again, it's Dana's world, and we all live in it.
This is true.
I would say John vacate the title.
Okay.
So Aspinall is your champion once and for all.
Okay.
John, you don't need the belt. We'll make the one fight against Francis Ngannou. Everybody will get paid like there's no tomorrow.
Okay.
And after that, whatever you want to do, we'll support. But I know you want this fight. If this is the only one that it makes sense, we can, like I say, this will be the biggest fight in heavyweight history.
Yeah.
So if they want to go do that, that's the fight you make. But you have to work it out where Dana's willing to play ball with the PFL.
I don't think that'll happen, though.
You never say never, because if they could somehow do this where profit sharing is worked out and there's a lot of bells and whistles that need to get
It would take a
involved.
while.
It would take a while,
But that's on par for how long John is gone for.
right. So because right now, unless he's going to be willing to take a huge payday to fight Aspinall, but previously it hasn't excited him to. There's only one fight he wanted to do, otherwise he's going to retire, and that's Ngannou.
Right.
So if you don't do that, then what's the purpose? There is none.
I just don't know if he does. The Ngannou thing would be fun to see, and it'd be awesome to see. I just don't think it'll happen because, in at least the way I'm seeing it, it opens a Pandora's box for down the road.
Oh, it would.
That you do this, and I'm not saying it's going to happen in every instance, and there's going to be a fighter in every division or whatever else. But there's going to be some folks who down the line go, well, you let John do this, why can't I do this?
Because John's the greatest fighter of all time.
Well, debatable.
That's exactly what Dana will say to him. John's the greatest fighter of all time.
Debatable, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's going to be the answer. Enough said. John has pull. Whatever fighter tries pulling it after him, are they on that same level as John Jones?
Yeah.
That's the argument. So if they are not, then they're not going to have a leg to stand on for this one.
Yeah.
So it depends. It's John's world right now. So he has to decide what he wants to do. But I do see him literally saying he's going to try to retire unless he gets Ngannou. I don't think this Aspinall fight happens. I'd love to see it. I just don't see it happening.
I think if anything happens, I think there's only two outcomes with this. I think if the Aspinall thing happens, and I think that's the more likely one. To quote The Godfather, they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. They handed him the blank check and said, name your price.
Yeah.
We want you to fight Aspinall. We want to unify this belt. We want to get this over and done with. What will it take for you to fight Aspinall? Or he retires. Because I think any other thing, and that's the only two outcomes I see with this.
Well, I mean, that's
because
that's
like
the situation with it.
Like I said, I
don't know.
I don't see him fighting Pereira just because it'd be fun.
No, Pereira's not happening.
It's just not going to happen. So.
No, it'd be foolish. I mean, unless you do a quick payday for Pereira, but why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you tarnish the legacy unless you really think you can knock him out? But good luck if he just does one takedown on you. You saw what he did to Miocic, and Miocic can wrestle.
Yeah.
You can't. I'm sorry, in my opinion.
Not wrong.
That's not a strong suit. So it's a bad fight for him. That's what I'm trying to go with. Nevertheless, though, a lot of storylines happening out of UFC 309. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. What's your takeaways from the fight? And where do you think John Jones goes from here? We want to have that conversation, so let's do it. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna go.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about, most of which is baseball because, hey, there's some stuff going on. And we got an update to the Tampa Bay Rays situation, a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. Start with the bad news, and that is, according to an article that is out today as we record, it sounds like the Tampa Bay Rays new stadium will not be ready this year, will not be ready next year, or even until at least the 2028 season.
Ooh.
So reading from an article on ESPN.com, it says, quote, Rays top executives said in a letter to the Pinellas County Commission that the team has already spent $50 million for early work on the new $1.3 billion ballpark and cannot proceed further because of delays in approval of bonds for the public share of the costs. Quote, the Rays organization is saddened and stunned by this unfortunate turn of events, said the letter signed by co-presidents Brian Auld and Matt Silverman, who noted that the overall project was previously approved by the county commission and the city of St. Petersburg. As we have made clear at every step of this process, a 2029 ballpark delivery would result in significantly higher costs that we are not able to absorb alone, the letter added. The tumultuous series of events came after Hurricane Milton ripped through the roof off Tropicana Field on October 9th. Yada, yada, close quote. So things are looking a little tumultuous for that. So we'll see what happens with their future. In the meantime, in between time, though, they do have a home for this upcoming season.
Yes, they do.
I called this. You heard it here first. I'm the one who said this to folks. I may or may not have said it on the show. I don't remember. But this upcoming season for the 2025 season, the Tampa Bay Rays will be playing their home games at George M. Steinbrenner Field, the spring training home of the New York Yankees.
Nice. Very, very nice.
Down the street from Tampa Bay Buccaneers Raymond James Stadium. So a little bit of welcome from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good on the Yankees to help folks in their time of need, especially with the Rays and not knowing what the hell they're going to do for next season. So good for them.
Yeah.
Then we got some awards to hand out because they are starting to hand out some of the baseball awards. As was announced yesterday for the Rookie of the Year awards, the National League Rookie of the Year award winner, as we all said, as we all predicted, because, hey, surprise to no one, was Paul Skeens.
Yes, which crazy deal with his Topps card?
Yeah, he's got a Topps card. It's a 1 of 1. It's got because every Major League Baseball player, when they make their rookie debut, has a patch on their jersey. It's like, hey, it's my rookie debut, whatever. Topps got a hold of that patch, put it on a card. It's a 1 of 1. And let me pull up the thing for this card because it is what the Pittsburgh Pirates are offering is absolutely batshit insane. And let's see, here we go. This is from the Topps Instagram account, and this is what the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to offer if you pull off this card.
Yeah, because this is a deal, like I say, this made national news because it is just absolutely like the incentives involved with this is crazy.
So actually, I had to go to the Pirates Twitter account. So this is their offer. If you pull this 1 of 1 card, 2 Pirates season tickets behind home plate for the next 30 years. A softball game for 30 people at PNC Park, plus coaching from Pirates alumni. So those of you who don't know, PNC Park is the park where, of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates play.
Yep.
A spring training like no other, which includes a private tour of Pirate City and Elcom, however you say it, Park, a meet and greet with Paul Skeens, 2 Paul Skeens autographed jerseys, take batting practice and warm up with the team, and other unique experiences at Pirate City and their ballpark. The other one I know was thrown out was by Paul Skeens' girlfriend, Livy Dunn, who threw out the whole benefit or bonus of it, where you get to sit with her behind home plate or in one of the suite boxes.
It's one of the suite boxes, I believe.
Suite boxes with her. Not to be outdone, though, there was a gentleman who runs a card or auction house or whatever it is that says, hey, don't listen to them. Remember what happened to the guy who's told the Dodgers no on Ohtani's 50 home run ball and how well they ended up? He goes, I guarantee you for this card, if you sell it through us, you'll be able to pay your kids through college. And oh, by the way, I'll get you in a box with Livy Dunn to boot. So start opening packs, folks, because as reports go, it has not been found yet.
No, it has not. So this is going to be wild. But this is something I think for baseball they need.
Agreed.
You need something, especially. Take nothing away from Paul's stats, though, this year. I mean, definitely showed up, showed out.
Yeah.
And we all predicted he was going to win the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
So.
And it is only the second Rookie of the Year in Pittsburgh Pirates history, with Jason Bay actually getting the nod in 2004 for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah.
For the American League, it was Luis Hill for the New York Yankees.
Let's go.
Joining the likes of, you might have heard of a few names of these. Some dude named Thurman Munson. Some dude named Dave Righetti. Some guy, Aaron Judge, I don't know what he did. And then some guy, again, I'm drawing blanks on this name, Derek Jeter?
Who?
Yeah, exactly. It is the 10th player in Yankees history to win Rookie of the Year, so congratulations to Luis Hill. Had 171 strikeouts in 151 and 2/3 innings over 29 starts. Crazy. And then, as was announced tonight as we record, we got the Manager of the Year award announcements. For the American League, Stephen Vogt, fastest person to go from player to manager in Major League history, player to manager of the year in Major League Baseball history. He got the awards in his first year at the helm.
Yeah.
He was a player 2 years ago, folks. So that's wild. And hey, kudos to Cleveland for the turnaround.
I was going to say Cleveland definitely, especially after moving out from Francona, like this was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and Francona actually going to be with the Cincinnati Reds next year.
Yeah.
So that'll be crazy to see. And as announced, the National League Manager of the Year winner is Pat Murphy of the Milwaukee Brewers.
No real surprise.
Yeah,
there.
27 first place votes for him. Mike Schilt of the San Diego Padres finished in second place. Carlos Mendoza in third place. So, yeah, got a lot going on with baseball. MVP and Cy Young will be announced in the next couple days. Although, listen, I'll give you a spoiler alert right now on MVP. Shohei Ohtani for the National League and Aaron Judge for the American League.
Yeah, I feel that's going to be the case.
Yeah. Spring free agency's going on. Juan Soto meeting with the powers that be. Allegedly, he's going to be meeting with us next week. We'll see.
Yeah, we're going to see. We have to talk to Michael Rothman, see if we can sign him up for Nerd Initiative.
Yeah, we might have to break into the old Patreon money.
Yep, so we'll definitely have to see about what we can do there. But he is scheduled. He met with the Mets.
Met with the Yankees. Met with the Red Sox.
Well, he's going to meet with the Yankees again. Yankees, I guess, are going to get the last
Met
meeting.
with the Red Sox.
Met with the Red Sox. Met with the Blue Jays.
Yep, meet with the Dodgers tomorrow.
Yep. So who knows what's
We'll
going to
see.
happen there, but I think ultimately he is going to be in pinstripes next year.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
That's
And
the
then
way
we're
to see.
going to talk the spectacle that was, if you want to call it that.
We thought this would be a great way to close the show because this is going to be something.
Yeah. So this, of course, was the fight that everyone and their mother watched because, as was reported today by the folks over at Netflix, this fight card drew 108 million viewers globally. Think about that for a minute. Was the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight? I'll say this: the co-main was good.
The co-main and the one other undercard match was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest win for boxing was those two fights.
Sure.
Because that got out in front of such a big audience.
Oh God, yeah.
They would be smart wherever all those fighters are involved with to capitalize on it and get back in the ring as soon as possible to maintain that audience. But after that, though, this was a spectacle. We knew this was going to be a spectacle.
Yep.
Obviously, Mike Tyson, 58 years old, against Jake Paul,
Half his age.
who, half his age, is boxing full time. But what does that mean to say, because who has he really fought?
Not anybody big name.
No, so this was a big match for them, and then to see where they go from here, because Jake Paul did win by unanimous decision. He did not look great in this, in my opinion.
I mean, because the thing with Jake Paul is, okay, he's got a record of 11-1, but when you dig into the numbers and the who he's fought, you kind of go, okay. His first fight was against a gentleman by the name of Ali Louis Al-Fakri, Fakri. Knocked him out. Okay, whatever. Then he fought Nate Robinson, the former NBA player.
Yeah.
Again, who was well past playing, hadn't played in I don't know how many years. Then he fought Ben Askren, who I think by that point had washed out of the UFC. Knocked him out. Fought Tyron Woodley twice. One was a split decision. The other one was a knockout. And again, I think by that point he was on the back end of his UFC career, if not out entirely. Then he fought Anderson Silva. He won against him. Again, Anderson Silva, back half of his career. Yeah. I think he'd been out of the UFC by that point. I could be wrong. His only loss was to what I would say, at least in my amateur opinion, Tommy Fury, who was a split decision loss. Fought Nate Diaz, who again, Nate Diaz hadn't fought UFC Lord knows how long, kind of the later years of his career, so no surprise there. Gentleman by the name of Andre August knocked him out. Ryan Borland knocked him out. Platinum Mike Perry, who I think he had a run in UFC, but more known for the bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah, that's where he's actually made a name for himself.
Bare knuckle fighting he knocked out. So okay, the only guy he's fought in 11 or 12 matches, is Tommy Fury.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay, he fought Tyson and he went the distance against Tyson. Tyson was 58 years old, and his last professional fight was a loss to Kevin McBride on June 11th, 2005.
Yeah, so
it was 20 years ago.
We have to remember this too. I mean, it would have been great to see Mike pull off an upset and do something here.
Which I would have loved to see, but once it got out of the first round, that went out the window.
Yeah, once it got out there, there was nothing to it.
And I'll say this. I applaud Mike for making it the whole way, because given what he said happened to him, because there was that whole kerfuffle of he pulled out of the fight, there was a medical issue. We didn't know what it was, or at least I didn't, because I didn't read that deeply into it. But once he said what had happened, that he had the medical episode where he lost 25, he went to the hospital, he lost 25 pounds, and he lost half of his blood. And I went, you still fucking fought after that? That was like less than 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a little insane to do, but I think what they were trying to do is, okay, let's see what we got here.
Yeah.
For Tyson, yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
he entertained fighting again, and I know he threw out the challenge to Logan Paul, but please no.
No, it's not going to happen, because I mean the fight was very simple. Tyson won the first 2 rounds. His legs gave out, and he looked like a 58-year-old man fighting.
For me, definitively, he won the first round. That second one, and I was watching this with my wife at home because we were both intrigued by it. That second one, to me, was a toss-up.
All right, but I gave it to him. Like I said, how I scored it. But
sure.
Jake won the rest because Tyson gassed out.
Right, and I kind of am leaning. I was watching the Stephen A. talking about it on First Take the other day. I'm leaning towards what he said. Like, I was giving Jake some shit because I'm like, you're fucking half his age and you couldn't knock him out? Like, what the fuck are you doing? After hearing Stephen A. talk about it a little bit, I kind of lean towards what he's saying, and I think he realized Tyson didn't have it. And he didn't want to necessarily embarrass the guy. Where I think Paul could have easily gone, you know what? I'm going to knock this guy's ass out just because I'm faster than him, I'm stronger than him, and he just doesn't have it. But he didn't want to.
No, I understand that argument too, but it's kind of like it's a weird catch-22.
Sure.
In my opinion, because you're in a fight, you're supposed to win.
Sure.
Because now the ultimate question is, where does Paul go from here? And
hopefully someone legitimate, because I'd be more impressed.
Well, the Tommy Fury thing, that's the only thing, like, that would make sense to me.
Sure.
Okay, if he's really going to be a deal.
Sure.
But at the same time, you need to get him people that are strictly boxers in a prime stage of their career.
I mean, again, you look at some of his fighter. One was a former NBA player.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them were former UFC or MMA guys.
Yeah, which, I mean, listen, they can strike, but they're not. Yeah. But boxing is a different science.
I can't tell you about Ryan Borland or Andre August because, well, they don't have Wikipedia pages, and I have to dig further.
Right, but at the end of the day, he needs real competition if you're going to consider him a real boxer.
Sure.
I don't know necessarily who you get, because unfortunately boxing in this day and age doesn't establish a lot of great stars
Yeah, that's
that
true.
are household names.
Yeah, that's true.
I know there was one that was blindly thrown out there, and I will already tell you this right now to save you a click.
Okay.
If he fights Canelo, Canelo will destroy him.
Holy fuck, Canelo would play with him.
Yeah, like I say, he'd take him into deep waters just to mess with him, and he would knock him out.
Yeah, he would.
So
Yeah.
for anybody that's seriously giving Paul a chance there, I'm sorry, not at this stage.
Anyone giving Paul a chance against Canelo is under the age of 14.
Yeah. Like, listen, Paul, I might not, agree with him all the time.
Sure.
But
Neither do I.
But I will say this. He understands how to build hype for himself. He understands how to market himself.
Yeah.
That is something which boxing could sorely need.
Yeah.
So,
Because you got people like myself who, admittedly, I've not watched a ton of boxing. I've seen the Rocky movies. I've seen the Creed movies. And then for the boxing fights I've actually seen, I saw the Mayweather-Pacquiao card. I saw the Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor card. And I saw this one. And then I saw, I believe it was Canelo Triple G2.
yeah.
I was not impressed all 4 times. I'm to the point now where I don't know if I will ever watch a boxing card again. I'll watch highlights. If something comes up on SportsCenter where, holy hell, you got to see these highlights, like, I'll watch that. I'll check that out. If Ken sends me something like, yo, watch this knockout, I'll absolutely watch that. But if it means me having to shell out, 25 whatever bucks or what it's when I'm splitting the card with somebody and doing it, probably not. Because I'm just not impressed.
Well, for me, the problem that we have in this day and age is boxing is not like it was back when.
Fucking complicated too. There's like 800 belts.
Yeah, it's messy. That's the easiest way to describe it. The UFC has cleaned up a lot and taken away a lot of the fan base and a lot of the momentum boxing had because they've elevated and it's evolved.
Yeah.
It's evolved to meet the standards of pop culture today.
And at least when it comes to MMA and UFC, Bellator, bare knuckle, like whoever else, there's at least very clear distinctions with this is the Bellator champ. This is the UFC champ. And you can mention like, oh yeah, this guy was a former WEC, former Bellator champ, former UFC champ. That's understandable.
Yeah.
Because there's clear distinctions between the two. But you've got guys coming out on these cards, they're holding like 6-7 belts. And I'm like, wait, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I mean that's the problem right now. Is there's no clear-cut, like, number one organization, no clear-cut champion. I mean, you can argue about some, but if you ask a casual fan right now to tell you who the heavyweight champion of the world is,
fuck if I know.
Yeah, that's the problem you have right now. So boxing, as weird as it sounds, needs Jake Paul to get some more younger fans involved.
Yeah.
But the question is who do you put him up against, and you have to make a marketable name. That's why the Tyson thing worked, because Tyson is a legend.
Yeah.
And we all thought, because we've seen videos of Tyson fighting now, he still has the muscle memory. Albeit, though, the muscles are slower.
Yep.
And it's just Father Time doing it.
Father Time's undefeated.
So, that being said, we had an idea how this was going to go. I thought Jake was going to get knocked out. And I think if he really tried testing him more in that first round, he would have.
Yeah.
But that is here nor there at this stage.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Jake Paul has now got the boxing world's attention, and what they would be
for
smart.
For good or worse.
Right. But they'd be smart to give him a real contender. The Tommy Fury thing, I think, makes the most sense.
That's the most likely outcome.
Because otherwise you're going to start doing, because
otherwise he turns into like a Floyd Mayweather and he just fights whoever the hell he knows he can beat.
Well, you turn it into a media circus because what you're ultimately going to do, if he doesn't get a contender, he's going to get Conor.
God, before you said that name entered my head and I went, God, please no.
No, it's going to happen because Conor's future in the UFC.
Up in the air.
That's so up in the air. And if he gets offered, folks, I'm not writing this check, but I could see this check. If he gets offered something like $50 million to fight Jake Paul because people will tune in.
Yeah.
We know people will tune in.
Yeah.
If they do it again at like Texas Stadium there or where the Cowboys play, or
they'd have to.
Yeah, they got to do a stadium fight.
They'd have to go the biggest one in the country, which I think it's Cowboys.
Yeah. They would sell that out in a heartbeat, and they would make the biggest payday in boxing history. And I'm not saying this in a derogatory shot against anybody, but let's face it, you have one of the biggest media stars, love him or hate him right now, in Paul, and Conor draws controversy, which means cash. It writes itself.
Yeah.
So we will have to see how this plays out, but I will say, though, for Netflix and on their TV,
It wasn't great, but then again, when you have 160 million people tuning in across the world,
Yeah, it was
that's going to cause some issues.
it was a test run.
Yeah.
And it played off well because everybody saw the main events.
Yeah, I would say for me, I had issues with the second, and so I had issues with the welterweight and the lightweight fight to the point where I think during the lightweight fight, I had to reset my modem.
Yeah.
But then when the Paul fight came, perfectly clear the whole way through.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people concerned with the NFL doing games on Christmas Day on Netflix.
It'll be fine.
And then with Monday Night Raw going to Netflix in January on the 6th. I think, to quote the one Fightful article who spoke to somebody in the WWE, they've been assured by Netflix they won't have issues. I also don't think 160 million people are going to be watching Monday Night Raw.
Right.
Sorry. But even WWE said, listen, if we have the issues that they were having for that fight, we're doing okay.
Exactly. So there's nothing to worry about in that aspect.
Yeah.
This was a test run for Netflix. That's the only real true winner of this fight. Mm-hmm.
This fight also took place, even for folks who weren't watching this fight, it started at like Friday night at like 8 o'clock. That is prime Netflix time for folks at home.
Yeah. No, they played it well as far as a marketing poll.
Yeah.
They did fine. It's just unfortunately
that slap also helped the day before.
Well, trust me, Tyson knows how to get a crowd going. He's a showman too, so they understood what to do to get everybody talking, and that's what and it works. So we'll have to see where it plays from here on out. But I think though the only true winner was Netflix that night.
No, it was, and I'll give Jake his due. Coming out to Phil Collins in the air tonight was fucking great.
Oh, it was a troll move.
That was so good.
That was a troll move. Remember The Hangover?
I know.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh no, he's doing The Hangover.
Yep. Yeah, that was something, folks. That was definitely something. But that said, for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for sports this week. So for the one only Padawan J.
Fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.
It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Ooh, talk to me. Talk to me. It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.